Okay, we might get started. We've still got a couple of people, I think, likely to join us, but it looks like we've got a great group already online. Um, Let me start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And if you're on other lands, please do feel free to acknowledge them in the chat. My name is Michelle Higelin, for those of you who I haven't met. I'm the Executive Director at ActionAid Australia, and it's really lovely to welcome you all to this event, this Q&A with Flora Vano, who's the Country Manager for ActionAid Vanuatu. And we're really thrilled that all of you could take the time to join us this afternoon. And this session was really designed for, some key members of our ActionAid community. I know we've got board members, we've got Arise Leadership Circle members, we've got some of our long-term supporters, we've got partners online and also some of our staff. And we really just want to thank you for taking time to join us. And we wanted to give you a chance to hear firsthand about some of the inspiring work that Flora is leading in Vanuatu. And so a big welcome to our very special guest, Flora Vano, who we'll be hearing from in a moment. And but I think, for those of you who are sort of less familiar with ActionAid, we support women's leadership on the front lines of injustice and also work to transform the systems that continue to hold women back. And we do this work in 45 countries around the world. And we thought we might start this session with just a short video, which just gives you a glimpse into that work.
As we face the greatest crises of our times, injustices are multiplied for women because of the discrimination that women experience every single day. We need to take action in new ways. ActionAid listens to the changing needs of women who are empowered to become decision makers. Women are rising, creating the change our world needs, but we need strength in numbers. Here in Australia and around the world, you can stand in solidarity with women who are fighting the climate emergency, demanding workers' rights, and challenging gender inequality. Empower women. Change the world. Donate now.
Okay, empower women, change the world. That's what we're all about. And nowhere else does this work really come to life more so than in Vanuatu. It's a country we started working in 2015 following Cyclone Pam, where we were invited in by the Department of Women's Affairs, who really wanted to make sure that we could give community women who were worst affected by the cyclone some kind of voice in the decision-making process. And we should say, for those who don't know Vanuatu, and I do see we have someone who's lived in Vanuatu, which is fantastic. It is one of the most gender unequal societies in the world, where we do have no women in the national parliament, some of the highest rates of violence against women in the world as well. And also it is the country most at risk of disasters and the impacts of climate change. So it's a pretty important country for an organisation that's about ending injustice to be working in. And I think, I have to say, the reason we've also created this space with Flora today is it's some of the most inspiring work, and so much has been achieved in a very short period of time. The first time we went to Vanuatu, we heard women talking about how they tried to warn their communities about the cyclone. And now, 6-7 years on, women are in control of the early warning mechanism that reaches 40% of the country. They're using technology really to lift their voices and to take some power and also, organising to ensure that women also have a voice with government. And yesterday we heard from one of Flora's colleagues, Helen Tomato, who's a woman with disability, who works with the Women Who Talk Together Sunshine, and Flora's going to share more about that. But she shared a quote, which I think I just wanted to read, because I think it touched all of us yesterday, to just hear personally about what it means to be part of a growing, vibrant women's network that reaches more than 5,000 women around the country. She said, we asked her, how her life was changing. And she said, I see transformation in my life as a woman with disability. I feel more confident. I can now speak out with government. The community now respects me for who I am. And I think that it's quite significant, and I think particularly in a context where women have often been excluded from decision making, and this is a woman with a disability who also faces multiple forms of disadvantage. So I think we're thrilled to have you here with us, Flora, and have a chance to hear about the incredible work that you are leading. Flora has been working with ActionAid since 2017. And really driving forward programming that focuses on supporting women locally to lead protection, resilience, and climate change adaptation. And they've also been at the forefront of the response to COVID-19. Flora has played a pivotal role in establishing the Women Wet and Wetter initiative, which is a network of young women leading the early warning, monitoring the weather, and sending out messages via SMS. She also has extensive experience in emergency response, and in fact led the first women-led emergency response in Vanuatu to Cyclone Harold back in 2020, and so has really been at the forefront of driving that change. So Flora, we're really thrilled to have you with us. And I just want to say to our guests, after Flora shares, we'll have an opportunity for questions. I know some of you have sent those in advance, so we'll start with those. Please do feel free to turn on your camera. I know Flora would love to see, who's around the virtual table, but, we also understand if you want to keep it off, but, we'd love to be able to see who's with us today. But over to you, Flora.
Thank you, and it's good to connect with everybody. I've been hearing a lot also about women and people, men and women that supported the work of ActionAid and supported me to do what we are doing here. So yeah, I wanted to say thank you for joining us today on this session. I think I'll pretty much start off on what inspires me to really do what I'm doing. Get out of bed every morning is really being able to challenge the norms and the system that has been put in place. I wanted to push myself beyond what I'm capable to make the change happen. I think before I start doing that, I know Auntie Michelle have already introduced me as the country manager of ActionAid Vanuatu, but I also like to add on that I'm a mother who has 4 kids. One is just turning into a teenage mode at the moment, and 3 girls, a son and 3 daughters. And I lived in Port Vila. I was, yes, I think my body weight now, I mean, I'm talking about me. So this body here just came on board because of the baby fat that, all mothers have to take when they have a pregnancy for 9 months, and we couldn't control the eating. So I think, and I'm also a feminist, and I'm a humanitarian activist also within climate change and disaster risk. So I keep on, I've went sidetracked a little bit. I'm coming back to my inspiration is taking the risk outside, even thinking that if no one's who will act on behalf of women and young girls and women with disabilities? So I really wanted to challenge the norms that are here. And once a small change happens, I feel good that at least I make a small difference. And I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it also with the help of my team and colleagues in Australia, and with a broader sister network that we had here in Vanuatu as well. So our situation in Vanuatu is mainly being part of the decision making. We've heard from the introduction, we were not recognized on most of our homes, our cultural community, our villages, provinces, even within the national government. We were really trying hard to make sure that we are also included in most of the decision making. It's frustrated. We thought when our law, the human rights law was saying, everybody has equal right, we can see other countries having that, other women are ensuring that we don't have the privilege to exercise that right, and even being able to be like a normal woman that can do what she dreamed of doing, and then making it happen, like pretty much go to school, have an education, got some papers, and came back and developed what she thought it's good in terms of development sector. But this is still something that we are still fighting for to this very day, getting that recognition in most of the work we are doing. And that's when Women We Talk Together network begins. It brings together diverse women from different backgrounds and skills. Those who went to school, those who didn't went to school, those who were neglected in the community were the biggest backbone of the network, because they stayed, they wanted to learn, they wanted to progress, they wanted to know more. So that is, it's like they wanted things to happen, but how would things happen? So that network provided a safe space, which they came in and talked about what they would like to see. So the development of the network itself, it has a sense of belonging. Like I would say, if I had a bad day at home, the place that I would really rather be is on that network, where I can share my issues to another women who probably have a similar experience, or who know someone who had, and they have solved those issues. So it's an opportunity that it transformed the lives of women. If we are comparing the network in 2015 and now, women that came in, even clothes, and their hairs are wild, they don't care how they look. Now, if you look at them, you thought you thought that they had a very, very good environment, a very good living from the past coming through. But it's the safe space that we have created, that most of them were learned to know what is hygiene meant, because hygiene wasn't taught in most of our days growing up, unless you go to school to be taught to know hygiene practices is this. You do this, you do that. A balanced meal is this. You have to eat those were not taught. And in some cases, we were brought up, and we could see from the changes that women learn to know that there's food security in the process that can help build up your health, and you can grow it also. So they have grown like their own personal growth inside the network, really give them that confident for them to also talk to their husband confidently, they talk to the community leaders confidently, and they talk to the government confidently. And I think one thing we have seen the network environment, the safe space has given, is the opportunity for the WIT Sunshine, which is our disability sister, to have that space, that safe space that they can, when they came into that safe space, they describe it as it's like it's like Disneyland. One of them described that to me. It's like we are the princess, we are the queen, and we can think, we can dream big, we can do things, and nobody will discriminate us and tell us that our ideas are not good. we can try and walk towards it. I mean, it makes them feel like they can speak freely and be themselves, and they can dream big. And like a simple, for example, I would put it this way. We had a workshop, and then I said, how about we all, for our lunch meal, let's not eat in where we're doing it. Let's go out to a food court area and have you guys had pizza? And most of them just shake their heads. We don't know what this pizza is. What is it? Oh, it's something. We'll go and get it. So we went out. We got some of those. They look those trays, and they said, "Wow, those things are very different. They look funny on the plate." But for them, this is the first time they have entered a food court. The first time they taste something very foreign, not like the normal baked stuff and the boiled food we usually had at home, or the one that we roast over firewood. It's something very different. And the impact at that time, the stuff that with a lot of people from there were looking at us like, who actually allowed them to be there? I mean, we could sense a tension in the public area that people are looking at us. When we are going down, people stopped on the road to even just turn and look at all these women with disability, all different forms of different impairments. We are taking them to the food. And for them, it was just a dream. They dreamed to have one day probably taste something different, be in a different, and people accept them for who they are. And for me, it really speaks louder than what I'm doing. I mean, this is why I wanted to be in this job. It's just a simple dream that can be reality, which maybe in most places have been taken for granted, but for them, it changes the aspect of living again, another lens to what they're looking at. I mean, they could see that there is an organization that can help them achieve some of their goals, and even have mentored them to be able to speak out and tell government or even community leaders that this is what we want, please include us and all that. And it really allowed them to also talk about how they wanted to be resilient in times of disaster. And that's when Economic Hub started. The Economic Hub started, we've talked to them. They tell us, if we want to recover faster, if we really wanted to recover faster, we need to have an income generating activity that will help to put the money back. So they themselves thought, okay, in my island, in this village, I cannot do this, but I'm capable of doing that. So they took their realities and we put them all together, and they were trained on a business, how to do a business plan, how to actually, where is the market? So all sorts of things have came in, but they had a main goal is for them is making sure they have money to put food on the table. That is something that it's a cry for every woman on the network. Food meals only comes in when they have the harvesting in their gardens. The harvest is good. You know that you will have a significant amount of food, and you probably will have 3 meals. But if the harvest is not good, then you know that you probably will cut down 1 meal, you will only have 2, and then you will have to decide which one to go and sell to earn money. So they have worked through those things, and they thought, you know what, if we had this, it will change our lives. It will transform the lives of all women, because they will now have enough money to get food. They will also have enough money to build their homes. When the disaster strike, the thatch roof that were meant so you can just go in. I mean, we've known that you just go to the bushes, get the thatch roof, start stitching it together and put it in your roof. It's easy said, but if it was destroyed by a Category 5 cyclone, we lost it. The cyclone destroyed the whole thing. It will take another 5 years for it to grow and produce those leaves. And so they really looking at it that if the Economic Hub came up, it will be something that will rebuild their houses better. It will be much better than the one they are in now, because they can really have it tied down proper, and then it can withstand some of those harsh wind that probably went up to a category 2 or 3 that can blow off the thatch roof, but it won't this time. And they're also looking on making sure that the violence that they keep on having will decrease, because most of them came in with issues as of, I can sell vegetable, I can get money, but then at the end of the day, the husband will come in. My husband will come in and told me, how much did you earn? I'll need to have my share, which he do nothing. He just sit on his, excuse my language, he just sit in his ass all day, talk and drink cover, and I don't know what they're doing with the men in the Nakama, but that's what they do. And so the women have to do all that, gain money, and then at the end of the day, the men have to come in and ask, where's my share? Where's my part? I need money for cover. I need money for this, without even thinking what the woman has planned, that there's money for clothes, money for food, money for going to school, and the distance that they need to cover just to get clean and safe water. And so the economic hub will probably allow them, not probably, it will allow them to have the rainwater catchment tanks. It will allow them to have solar lights that they can put for their kids to study. One of the bigger dreams for future is getting those economic hub to be more effective. Like if we had the poultry farm, we will have the eggs, mama's eggs going out. We wanted to have the fetus being woven into cushions or being made into flour like this, or bags. They wanted to go, value add in a lot of the parts of the chicken, the chicken feces. They wanted to put that into vegetables. They also wanted to do fish pond. So it's all things that, for them, they dream it, but they don't have the cash to actually do it. And I think we've given them a glimpse of hope. We've put in some cash in there to do the startup. So we wanted that's the dream and the vision is they wanted the economic hub to be something recognized in the markets. Like you go to the market, you will look at, oh, it's mama's chicken. Oh, which island does it come from? And it's all organic. And I mean, that's what the mother said. We don't want to use anything chemical that will pie, because we don't know those chemical stuff in the shop. But we know the traditional ways of how to feed the chickens, feed the pigs, feed the cows, the cattle. We will do that. And if we have to train, we will train to do it, to make it work. I mean, those dreams and vision, they also have one of the, I think it's the huge one. And I said, it's a very big dream, but let's keep on dreaming and hoping that we will get there. It's they wanted to really have a big multi-purpose center, which can be used for evacuation center, and also like the main center of the hub, the economic hub, where everyone comes in and then goes out again. And that facility, we don't have any yet in Vanuatu. When they told me about the idea, I searched, I know there's some community who has a community center and all that, but what they envisioned was very different. We don't have a house yet in most of the site. We only talks under trees, mango trees, coconut trees. We sit down on the mat or even on the grass just to talk about, this is where we create those safe spaces and talk. And the dream is they would wanted to have a structure that will say, this is the house plural woman, this is it. And the difficulties they've been facing of, worrying on getting, worrying at home while their girl kids, going to walk from one distance to another for just to try and get an internet data to try and access some things online since the COVID came. That's another worry that they were saying, we don't know how this thing will go, because the distance that our kids are walking is more dangerous. We don't know who the perpetrators are on the road, that they will do things to our girls. And we were always stressed and worried about how we will live going on with this whole new norms of COVID-19 stuff. And the only thing I said, when you dream, you have a vision, there's always a way. There's always that you don't just dream it, but you are speaking it right from the heart. What you are saying, it will eventually come out and be real in time, but it's a process. It's how we are seeing it, and it's how we are talking about it. And every now and then, if the rain on us in some spaces, they will say we should try much more harder and make sure that the economic hub came to life, and making sure that if we can make it work, we know that at the moment it's in 5 islands. They wanted it to go through all the other islands. They want all the other sisters to be able to be part of what they are doing, because if it's transformed their lives, it will transform the lives of all of Ni Vanuatu women. And I think from that point, the chiefs, the leaders will be looking at the woman in a different angle now. And despite the traditional one that is patriarchal system that was there, but I think in the process, we can change the behavior and change the norms, and slowly, but we are not pushing it too fast, because we know if we are pushing it too fast, we might probably got told off with a machete, what are you doing with that woman? So I've got told that before. So I'm pretty cautious on where and who and which type of island have some of those strange male looking at me and said, I'm weird. I don't know what women or who brought you up. So I'm okay on getting criticism if it's for women's empowerment and advancements of women's rights in the new norms that we are facing, because no one else will speak for that. And I am proud to say that if we are moving forward, if the economic hub came into reality, we've started, if it grown and became sustainable, it will never be pulled down. I would say there'll be no disaster strong enough to destroy it, because women's collective together, they have a strong voice, and action done together, it's much more powerful than one person's word or one person's action. Together they can create change, together they can build up a big empire and make it work. And for the resilience of our women in Vanuatu, and building up that resilience for the Vanuatu as a whole.
That sounds pretty inspiring, Flora. And I know that, I think it's wonderful to hear about, your dream and the dreams of women in Vanuatu. And I think for us not to discount what it means for women to have a dream, particularly women who are often excluded and don't have the space. So, and I know that what we're trying to do through ActionAid Australia is to try and get behind and try and support and raise the resources to bring to life the women's economic hubs and make sure they can have that impact as a starting point. Now, look, this is a Q&A. I have to say we will probably run for about another 10 to 15 minutes, because I know we've got a few people who've put forward some questions they'd like to ask. I think I might start with Joe. I think you've got a question for us, if you want to kick off.
Hi, Flora. Sorry, I won't put my camera on because I'm joining you from my COVID bed.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Joe.
I just love what you're doing, and you're an incredible powerhouse. Thanks so much for your wonderful inspiration. I guess it was really about the systems change and the cultural change aspect that I was really interested in. I know that that you've come a long way from where you started in 2015, and it was really about what is it like for the broader population of Vanuatu, for the women that kind of sit outside these women you talk together circles. Like, is it changing their lives as well, or is it really just these women who are engaging closely in your network?
Oh, Joe, that's a very good question. Just the other day, I got a media person came into my office and said, I've just seen the National Disaster Management Office putting an ad out about those women that you were, the response that you guys did in Tana, Ashfall, and the flooding. So I'd like to get more of those, those type of stories. Did it really change the lives of women? And I said, but what did you see with the comments when the National Disaster Management Office put out? And they said, well, they were great. They were saying, oh gosh, the government didn't put anything yet, but the women did. So they have to be scared of the women now. I mean, that alone really tells me that the work we are doing, it can be small, but it's making an impact. And if the government is now addressing it also on their sectoral, or well, let's say in the, I think it's a department, and that is VMGD, Vanuatu Meteorology Geohazard Department, and it will speak louder than only me going to the radio and talking about the women, because now there's those male people who didn't thought we can do it, and now publishing what the women can do. So Joe, we are transforming the lives, and I mean it's really great, and I just feel honored and blessed that this guy walked in and asked me about it. I mean, you don't get that often. you have to drive for, I think, 6 to 10 years for them to start recognize you. But in a short amount of time, I think we've shown them what we are made of. Like, yes, we are a mother. Yes, we we create life. But not only we are living it by ourselves, but we are making a change by including everybody around us, like the disability sisters, the young women, the single mothers, the single young girls who've been dropped out. I mean, we bring them all in. We try to find a space for them in the network. We don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to include. If I'm advancing, I want everyone to advance with me, not me alone advancing. I mean, it's not a one-man's game. It's togetherness. It's the holding hands of women together that make it work. But if you don't have the passion and the heart to do the work, then I would say you're not in the right place. But if you got that heart, you are in the right place. Like, no one will let you off the hook easily. And doors that are closed, the doors will be opened. They will eventually open. We just need to, hang on there, have patience, and we'll push through. It's a long fight, and yes, the journey is still going. So yes, Joe, I have seen it firsthand, and I'm telling you, it's something. I didn't tell my other colleagues yet. I think they're hearing it for the first time. What we just did what the government has just did for the network. I mean, I'm proud to say this again. Yeah. Thank you, Joe, for the question.
Thanks, Flora. Now I also have a question here from Robin Nixon.
Oh. Sorry, I need to start my video. Can you hear me?
All yes, right? We can.
Yes.
I was really, the question I think I put in was just really interested to know, what would you say in times of the disaster are the greatest challenges you face at that moment that shape really what you need in terms of support from Arise and from ActionAid?
Thank you for that question. When we are hit by that, what Arise and ActionAid Australia did for us is highlighting the issue best, making sure that our voices are heard, because the issue that we faced triples the normal issue that we had of not having a strong house, not being able to have enough money on us, and also just the TC Harold one, the COVID kicked in, which means those that depend highly on tourism are not able to do their weavings to sell for the tourists. They're not able to earn any small money. And most of them have been laid off by the hotel, by the tourism industry as well. So when it was hit, you go in, you could see those issues, everything just hit you. And if you're not strong enough, you will break down every time you go out to one village to the next village. And it requires you to be strong inside and to be strong, the people around you also. And I think one thing they played, ActionAid Australia played really well, is checking in on us. How are you doing out in the field? That constant, it really shows that there's someone who I can talk to, I can relate to. And if I'm in a situation that it's not a good space, there's psychosocial support right there. I got emotion on this. It's because what we do, it's the first time we did it. It's the first time we did it. And we make sure we went to the government people and told them off immediately on the disaster table. We told them off that women are suffering, and you were telling about making this and that and putting funds here and there. And what about them that are suffering, them that are looking for food to feed their kids, them that needed shelter over their roof? What are you doing about them? What is it? The protection issues are so bad. Even during the emergency time, violence escalates to the next level. And recalling it again, it's like just the other day that we get to try and respond to another village, and we've seen a kid just crying, rolling over. She said she need more food. Why can't she just have a green cabbage with some rice? Why can't she just have that? She has been eating coconut from how many days coming through. So, I mean, those type of stories doesn't come out. And when you got hit like this, you wanted to make a change, like you put your whole self there and you look at it in a different way, like I wanted to make it work. Next time in an emergency, I need to make sure that I won't see that again. I don't want to see suffering again. I don't want to see pain, but I wanted for the women that got hit to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and say, we do have a backup of food right here. We wanted to distribute. We do have some clothes for those who have lost clothes right here. This is what I wanted to do. This is the changes that we wanted to see, because our government is not seeing it. I don't know what they're doing up there, but they're not doing the work that the real issues that we face. It only comes out during those dialogue, the safe space. When you actually get the women out, she will just broke down on you and cried the first thing before she start talking. So I think for me that is something. And what Arise did is trying to make sure that they helped us to achieve some of the issues that are pending, even the ask from the women. And I know I will take my hat off to my colleagues there that, they hear us, they listen to us, and they make it happen. And without them, we couldn't move. We couldn't move the way we are doing and transforming the lives of women. I mean, we are here, but Australia needs to know that what they invest here changes lives and has put hope for a lot of families, and have even bring back some happiness that were lost, but the happiness came back. I mean, this is tears of joy. This is really tears of joy, because I'm now saying it is like I'm reliving it once more. It's like it flashes. I went through that. And the things we do, we don't, however you slept in the field, you just don't need to talk about it as long as the mission is accomplished. And I think I have accomplished that mission. And I wanted to make sure that that's only for 5 islands. There's more islands in Vanuatu, and I really love to see this work grow and move to the others and help other sisters who are facing the same. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Thank you for
Thanks
sharing
so
with
much.
us, Flora.
Yeah, thank you, Flora. I mean, it's incredibly powerful. And I hope you're probably not reading the comments in the chat, but you are a star. We are all in awe of you, and you inspire us, and that incredible courage. And I think what's really powerful is about, you know, community women who are living through these things being able to raise their voices and really bring forward what's actually happening on the ground. It's incredibly powerful. I know we're going to try to wrap up in about 5 minutes. I've got 2 more questions that have been sort of put forward. So we'll try and get through this. I will just say, if anyone does need to drop off, you know, at 4:45 or what have you, please do. We don't want to hold you up. Yeah, I know it's just incredibly powerful just hearing from Flora. But could I, maybe if I could go to Jenny? I think you have a question.
Yes, Flora, it's just fantastic hearing about this. You mentioned earlier about education and people not knowing about, I mean, women not knowing about you know, hygiene and different food groups and all of that sort of stuff. What sort of education do girls get in Vanuatu, and does it vary very much across the islands?
Yes, thank you for that question. When I talked about that part of being educated, I was referring to part of the network. It consists of different age group, and the age group from 40, I would say, I think it's 50 to 60 plus. They don't have that privilege that the rest of us went to school at this stage, because they came in when we were colonized under the 2 colonials at the time. And so their job was to be in the plantation, do the housework, that's all. And it's the boys who will be going in to try and get an education, because they will be the leader for tomorrow. The women, they were meant to be at home, clean, have babies, do what it takes to make sure the husband is happy. So most of them are that type of age group so they couldn't know what it meant to have a normal meal that have bodybuilding, protein, and all that. And we've encountered one of our session with a group of women who looked at us. We went in and I was introducing, okay, can we do a bowl of salad just from this cabbage, get the coconut. I was doing all that thing because I was educated enough to learn that those things are good for our body. Now they look at me and said, the coconut, we either just use it to eat it just raw like that. You don't need, and you can bake it, that's it. But you don't do such thing like you're doing. What are you doing now? So they're questioning me, and then some of them, we only have roasted things in the fire. We don't really have to have a pot, but we got bamboos. We can do things on the bamboos. That's all they know. And I said, so you don't eat those stuff? How about let's do a food testing kind of thing to just trying to get them to know this type of food belongs to which, and it's like an education for them.
Yeah.
And they loved it. And we thought if that continues, the sharing of knowledge from one generation can inspire the elder one, and the elder one will be inspiring us by giving us the traditional knowledge of how they can read signs of weather just through animals and plants. So those type of exchange were made. And, you know, I'm happy that you mentioned that. And nowadays we do have some kids going to school, but there's only a few schools in most of our islands, which make it hard for the parents to put kids to the school. So sometimes a 2-year-old or even a 5-year-old have to move from one house to another and live with another parents just to attend school. And the parents wouldn't know what is it like living in another people's home? How are they treating their child? And then the child would end up not to be the child that the mother and father wanted her or him to be. And some of them just said, no, it's too hard to send kids to school. Let them just do the garden. They'll get more money selling vegetables. So we were trying really hard to try and change those mindset and making sure and telling them, go to school because there'll be opportunity in that school. Yeah, some of them don't know how to write. I just make sure I got the office ink and tell them just put this to put it in something that for you to sign, because they couldn't even hold a pen. If they hold a pen, the pen will go. And they said, how are we going to put these things? Just put a thought or a cross. That's you. So yes, it's something, but we are working towards it. And we had also other organization who came through, but it's what they can do versus the vast, where our landscape and geological sites of our island has making it very difficult for everyone to have a normal education.
Thank you.
Thanks, Flora. Final question from Maxine.
Well, I thank you, Flora. It's lovely to hear you speak of the work that you're doing, and I'm very impressed by it. My question was to see how easy it was to gain the women's confidence that you could encourage them to join together, but I think you've answered that in what you've been telling us.
Oh, yes, I would say it takes patience, and I'd like to acknowledge ActionAid Australia for a lot of training that they've also given us on how to deal with, with such groupings of people. I mean, the person who directly monitors us, Caroline Gear, she's one woman, I would say. She doesn't take no for an answer. She doesn't say, if we say, oh, I don't think we can make it, she said, you do it, you have to do it, make it work. So I think that really pushes up, because we were thinking, if somebody said, if I said I can't do it, then everybody said, oh, okay, then we all cannot do it. If you say you cannot do it, so we need this figure, and I think we have one, and she was amazing. She came in and just told us, I'm not taking this for an answer, that for an answer, that for an answer. You get up, do it. And you have to prove it that you can do it. And if you can do it, your kids will do it. Your generation that will come will eventually live up to what you are doing. So I think that just allow us, and everyone will start talking in the room. And they said, I think this is something we've never heard our entire life. We haven't heard that comment before, but we did. Now that we heard it, no one can stop us now. No one.
Good for
I think,
you.
yeah, that's what I said. We are empowered, inspired, and motivated that we wanted to just move.
And I have to say, I've seen that as well. And I think, the women, not wanting to speak up, and just, really encouraging using the safe space to speak up and to practice speaking out. And that's been a critical component of what Flora talks about in creating those safe spaces, so that women can practice what it means to take their space in public. But amazing, Flora. I think that, it's wonderful to take us to Vanuatu. We wish we could all come and visit and see firsthand, but it's lovely, the journey that you've taken us on. I think we really want to thank you for your incredible leadership. I mean, it's amazing the challenging context that you work in, and yet the incredible achievements you've had. And you mentioned that you can't say no to Caroline Gear. Well, Caroline Gear said that we need to thank Flora properly. So, Carol, do you want to just come online?
Thank you. I'm happy looking at how Flora has evolved. This is the first time I've sat back to just watch her, glow and thrive. So thank you very much, Flora, and to all our partners who've joined us today. We are really grateful and inspired by, you supporting our work and getting interest. And Flora, you're the voice, and those the tears that have rolled down your face are tears of gold, and the tears that will change your lives forever. So we are going to give Flora a power clap. And this power clap is a clap that comes from the women's movement, that how we connect, we give power to each other so that we get inspired and we move on together. So it is that we'll do it like 1, 2, 3. And then, so if everybody can turn their camera on and join us in the power clap. 2, 3. Thank you so much. And also not forgetting, I want to thank our own Executive Director, Michelle Higelin, for believing in us and inspiring us as well. She's the person who is on the wheel and you don't see her, but her voice means a lot and comes through for us when we are having difficult moments. We appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol. So a big thank you, Flora. And please do take time to read the comments from everyone who is here in the chat, because there's a lot of really, people want to give their own thanks to you. I do really want to thank everyone who's taken the time this afternoon to join us. If you would like to ask more questions of Flora, you are most welcome to stay on. I know Flora's offered to give some more time. We just wanted to keep this fairly short so people could, get home, do whatever they needed to do. So please do feel free to stay on. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And, as we mentioned, that we are trying to really get behind these women's economic hubs. Flora's highlighted that, this really stems from a dream the women have around having their own financial independence and the real difference that can make in terms of building their resilience in times of crisis, for them to be able to invest in, in some of their broader dreams and the things that will make a big difference to enable them to withstand climate change and disasters. So if you can support this, I know Flora would love your support. And we do have a very generous client donor who's offered to match any donations made to this effort, up to $15,000 before the end of the financial year. And you can see the link up on the screen. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we really appreciate all of your support, and which I hope you've seen today has really helped and enabled this incredible work and the success story that is the Women Who Talk Together network in Vanuatu, and under Flora's leadership. Thanks, everyone.